Really sad I couldn't be there in person, but one of the ways that power controls is by keeping everything in complete chaos, and that is currently the state is in the Icelandic parliament. And I'm very happy to be again at the Personal Democratic Forum. Actually, when I was there last time, I had actually helped co-create a political movement in the wake of the financial crisis in Iceland, and we were formed without any political experience 8 weeks prior to elections, and we managed to get 7.2% of the vote. And that is sort of how I, the poet and the activist, accidentally stumbled into this belly of the beast. But I've been very blessed with a very strange career for somebody like me, being a poet and everything, because I sort of stumbled into, also by sheer fate or something, being in the right place at the right time, into web development in 1995. And so I was one of the first people that was a part of this community that John Perry Barlow described so beautifully in his manifesto on Declaration of Independence of Cyberspace. And this sense that you can actually transform and change the world through the interconnectivity of the internet has been very present with me for a long time. And I've always had this deep sense of urgency of unifying people around simple causes. So one of the biggest problems we deal with as humanity is that we overcomplicate everything, when in reality everything is quite simple. And so when I co-formed this political organization called the Civic Movement in the wake of the crisis, we decided, instead of establishing a formal party, which I think is one of the problems, it's a big problem in your own country, where the parties that are supposed to be serving and representing all the people in the United States are just huge institutions. They're like massive Church of Scientology. And if you want to rattle with that power, you get ostracized and character assassinated or felt powerless. But I have this news for you, and that is, you know, the fact that everybody is always telling us that we don't have the power to change, but it's a lie. It's a very profound, deep lie. And I'm a living testament for it, because I have never fantasized about being in politics, and I've never wanted to be a parliamentarian, or now people are trying to fit me into prime minister, and I'm really not interested. I'm interested in creating political movements that are based around not really an upside-down pyramid, but rather the circle of power, where everybody has an equal role and responsibility in that community. And both my political movements have been based on these principles. So I'm not really a leader in the sense, the traditional sense. I'm more just somebody that runs out ahead before the others and checks if we're going to fall down that cliff. But I'm not a leader in that sense. And I think it's important that we actually do not take on these roles of power and manifest them inside us, even if you are in that, you know, if you don't become the power, then the power can't control you. And that's why it's important, while being inside the system and in this sort of bizarre situation that I am in right now, is not to embrace the power, because it does corrupt. It's really, I've seen it so many times, both with people that have become famous for various different things, or people that have gotten into real positions of power. And so now back to the big party that that I belong to now. It's not really big in reality. It's in the polls that we are really huge, and we just keep growing bigger and bigger. But we're still in reality only a 5% party with 3 parliamentarians. I, for example, I don't even have staff. So, you know, I'm not like, you know, how you see Congress people in the United States with a big office and meeting lobbyists all the time and stuff like that. Actually, we've scared off all the lobbyists by offering them to come and say, and you're saying, look, okay, you want to come? That's okay if we can record the meeting. And it is very important to to mess with them, and I think one of the reasons why we are so popular is because we're not pretending to be anything else than just ordinary people that have this deep, profound desire to actually do very radical, structural, deep political changes. And I guess we're all sort of, there's a really bad word for what we are, but I really want to embrace it, and that is that I'm just an anarchist. I want to give you power. I want to create systems where people can be engaged and feel that they have a responsibility in their communities. And so when we created the Pirate Party, it was of course around these core issues of the Pirate Party's first establishment in Sweden. And it's like a global movement. There are some people that are pirates in New York, and there are always more and more people that want to be engaged. And I think it's beautiful. And I think what happened in the Occupy movement and all this different movement for more access to democracy, I think that that's really beautiful. But you need to, and you have to figure out what are the fundamental changes that we need to do first. And this is why we are popular in Iceland, is that we are offering fundamental systematic change. And the change that the vehicle that we found, which is very important to find the vehicle, and this might take, it doesn't take a long time actually. You are heading into a really good crisis in the United States, so just be ready and start your homework. So, because crises are a really big vehicle to change things rapidly. So the vehicle we have is the new constitution that was created in the wake of the crisis in Iceland. And it was written for and by the people of Iceland. And it expresses who we want to be now in this day and age, as community, as society. And the work around it was just so beautifully done. Actually, if you Google Icelandic constitution, new constitution, you will find the PDF with all the constitutional suggestions. It was a comprehensive changes on a very fundamentally deep level. And even if your constitution and all your nice declarations are good, there's so many amendments to it. You don't really know what it means anymore. So there needs to be a discussion, and the discussion doesn't start up top. It starts with you, and it starts with you actually starting to express what sort of society you want to live in the future. Who do you want to be in 20 years together? And all systematic social changes are about who we want to be, what sort of responsibilities and what sort of revolutionary changes we're willing to do inside ourselves. This is very important. Nobody is going to change things for you. You are the change maker. You are the catalyst of change. And as soon as you start to embrace this, it actually becomes everything you represent and everything you do, and it will start to actually manifest in your life. It's just how it is. It's very simple. But if you can just figure out how you want to change things, what are the most important things to change in your state? Because you're going to change the United States not on the federal level. You're going to start in the states. You're going to start in your communities to change it. And if I could do it, if I could actually bring on the agenda this incredibly important discussion about how can we change the system, not just with creating new parties, because I don't really like parties. I just see it as vehicles for transformative change. And I'm seeing the same signs all over Europe and all over the world, where people are claiming democratic tools and demanding that they have access to decision-making about their own future. It's no lie that actually we've always had this power. We just handed it over because we don't want to put the work in. But I have news for you. If you want to live in your dream society, it demands that you participate in creating it. Simple. So I think the simpler we make our vision, because if we want to start to think about all these sort of, there's been so many films about better banking systems, better, access to information systems, better democratic models, and so forth. But you have to think, how are you going to build this system on? What is the hardware? Mm-hmm. And so I have dedicated myself to help create the hardware, and then others can actually create the software. Because I, as an individual, I don't have a clue on how we're going to solve all these issues we're dealing with. I just don't know. But we do, as a community, both these online little communities that are everywhere and in our own local communities. And it's so fascinating, the ideas that people come with. And so in the collective that the internet has actually helped us manifest, we have discovered each other and we have managed to build on it. And like, you know, Micah here, I discovered him through the internet. Without it, I would have never had a chance to work with him. And seeing the incredible inspirational work that him and so many of the people that I know are there in the audience today. So you are the change makers. And I'm counting on you to come up with figuring out what are these, you know, make it 3 things. Make a little checklist. But you're going to change things on your state level. Because the United States is many countries. It's many different United States. And so, you know, you can start by actually working on world cafes about what sort of states, you know, what sort of constitution you would like to have. You know, what is your federal constitution and what is your state constitution? There are endless possibilities. So, you know, if like, and I actually put forward this really, when we started to go up in the polls, the Pirate Party in Iceland, I got this idea, which is quite radical, and I've put it forward. I've actually forced the other leaders to answer a very tough question, and that is, my vision is that I want to make all the other parties that are willing to participate in this experiment to make a binding contract before elections about only making the new constitution a reality, because the previous parliaments have not been able to do it. And so we do a binding agreement that we only have the parliament running for about 6 months, where we make sure that the people of Iceland will actually get their constitution, and then we dissolve it. And then I can just go back to writing poetry. All right.